Imagine a future not too distant where Ghana, once blessed with abundant natural water resources, is forced to import water just to quench the thirst of its people. The turbidity levels in the rivers have risen beyond the capacity of Ghana's water treatment systems, which now strain under the weight of the contamination. The Ghana Water Company draws up mud at intake points, its once efficient filtration systems overwhelmed by the rising tide of pollution. What was once a simple process of purification has turned into a costly, nearly impossible endeavor. This is the Daboase water treatment plant built in the Western region. This plant supplies part of the Western region with water. But today, the treatment system draws mud to process water for the people. The story at the Sechahiman water treatment plant is even worse. The gold-hungry rush of illegal mining has poisoned our rivers with mercury and other harmful substances, seeping deep into the soil, the water, and the future of the nation. With 14,000 NT and still counting, the water company is spared. As the rivers darken, so too does the health of the people. Medical experts and scientists have warned that in a few short years, cases of cancer, liver diseases, and kidney failure are set to rise dramatically, linked directly to the toxic chemicals from galamsey seeping into drinking water sources. Children born into a world where playing by the river was once a joy now face the grim reality of lifelong illness.
Usually, in the mining areas, they use chemicals like mercury. Sometimes, in some places, they also use cyanide. But we also see arsenic. So mercury, arsenic, lead. These are heavy metals, and these heavy metals can form. They can form a kind of complex, which affect cell activity, cell action, and toxicity, very, very serious toxic levels.
Professor Kwame Ohene-Boabing, clinical pharmacologist and professor of pharmacy practice at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, sheds more light on the effects of heavy metals and other chemicals on the health of people in Ghana.
These heavy metals, they can actually affect activities of the brain, the spinal cord, what we call the central nervous system. I mean, accumulation of some of these heavy metals, in the body can lead to, some form of cancers, which can have very significant impact on the health of the individual who consume some of these the water which is actually contaminated.
Today, families in Ghana are now forced to buy sachet water for basic needs, an expensive habit that does little to calm their fears, as even the plastic-wrapped water is met with suspicion. My name is Richard Kwejenyako, and on today's Hotline, I explore why you don't drink the water that flows through your tap and patronize sachet and bottled water, and even with that, you drink with suspicion.
Those days that people saw rivers, streams as their gods, they did not venture to destroy them because you cannot destroy your sacred areas. But modernization has come to dilute some of these beliefs. And I also think that it's cultural because people normally do not pay much attention to water, though it's a very critical or a necessity of life.
Managing Director of the Ghana Water Company, Clifford Brymer, bemoaning the lack of respect for the country's rivers and water bodies.
I want to prove to Ghanaians that the water that we treat is wholesome, is up to international standard. Sometimes people get dirty water in their pipes. That is not why we treat it. Our lines are so long. Sometimes your household decides to do connection and they just get a roadside plumber, not certified by Ghana Water. He goes, what he knows is to cut, drain, and during the cutting and draining, debris gets in. If it is a Ghana Water staff, he will flush it and make sure that it doesn't go into your tap. But the other person, all he wants is money, collects, and he's gone. Because he's not under any obligation to follow some SOPs, our operating procedures. He is not there, but we will not do that.
In towns and cities across the country, taps are running, but the trust in the water that flows through them has evaporated. Consumers are turning to sachet water, a costly alternative. But even this doesn't bring peace of mind. Even as the pollution of the rivers continue unabated, the Managing Director of Ghana Water Company Limited, Clifford Brymer, believes the water they produce is good enough for drinking and that there is no cause for alarm.
It's marketing. The sachet water people want to let them know that, and to your surprise, most of the sachet people fetch our water and bag it. They don't do any treatment process. But they tell them what is in that bag is more wholesome than where they fetched it. Because they fetch it into another container. Probably the container is contaminated. And they now put it in a bag, close it and sell it to you. So there are marketing issues that is creating trust issues. But we can tell her. That's why I told you that we've done this ISO. Just to tell you, this is not a Ghanaian thing alone, it's an international standard.
But the scientists say Ghana Water Company does not have the capacity to take out the presence of heavy metals in the water that flows through the taps. Professor David Kofi Suman is an environmental scientist at the University of Cape Coast.
Our water company, the mandate they give them is what they are pursuing. No two ways about that. And by all indications, they are doing what they are supposed to do. And by the quality that they are looking for, they get it from the way they treat their water bodies. But it goes beyond that. The fact is that our water treatment system was handed over by our colonial masters during independence. And it does three basic things. You get the water, it clarifies the water to make it clean, and then we chlorinate the water to kill germs and pathogens in the water. These are the basic things our water treatment system does. Anything other than that is a problem. And today, mining is done right in the rivers. What it means is that we have added several chemicals to the water, which our treatment system does not take care of them. They do nothing to them. The pesticides, the heavy metals, the endocrine disruptors, they all get into the water body. But our treatment system does not take care of it. It doesn't attempt to take anything out. So they are always in the surface water that is being treated and piped for us.
The question of whether the water flowing from our taps is free from heavy metals and other contaminants is a matter of great sensitivity. It touches on both public health and trust in our infrastructure. At the heart of this issue is the Ghana Water Company, which shoulders the vital responsibility of delivering water to households across the country. Ensuring that this water meets safety standards falls to the Ghana Standards Authority, whose role in inspection, testing, and metrology provides a crucial layer of quality assurance. At the helm of the Ghana Standards Authority is Professor Alexander Dodu, the Director General overseeing efforts to guarantee that the water Ghanaians rely on meets the highest safety and quality standards.
The Ghana standards for water excludes the presence of heavy metals, period. So any activity which will contribute to the presence of heavy metal in water, because if you're using a borehole, it's going to be surface water. You're going to, drill down, but whatever is on the surface will percolate down. So, and heavy metal doesn't go away. So wherever there is heavy metal, it will show up in water. If heavy metal shows up in water, that water is not safe, not fit for consumption. So I think you can draw the analogy that any activity, whether it's galamsey, whatever activity leads to lead, mercury, any other heavy metal being present, and being present such that it can be in water, poses a risk to human health. And indeed, we often talk about water, but rarely do we even discuss that these heavy metals can also be present in both livestock and also the food we eat. So really, anything which exposes the environment to an increased level of heavy metals puts everybody in Ghana at risk. Evidence in the areas where the galamsey have caused problems which are so visible, I think it's obvious to say that if you live there, it's dangerous to drink the water and participate in the food unless it's been tested and proven as safe.
In homes across the country, this is the new reality. Even as they pour from sachet, the people of Ghana drink with suspicion. The unseen consequences of galamsey have infiltrated every aspect of life, eroding trust and safety in something as basic as water.
3 reasons why I don't trust the water that flows through my tap. 1, when they close the tap and then they open the tap, the water looks very brownish. And then 3, the water is very, it smells chlorine. And then the third one, when they close the tap and then they open the tap, the water is not good at all. You can't even use it to do anything. You have to wait up like 3 days before you open the tap, then it looks somehow okay before you can use it.
Mabel, a food vendor at Community 25 in Tema, no longer trusts the water flowing through her tap. For her, it's simply undrinkable, tainted and unfit for her or her customers. Despite being connected to a water supply, she remains convinced that what pours into her home is still polluted, its clarity masking hidden dangers. The price of sachet water is high, but the price of trust is even higher. To Ifwa, relying on the tap is not an option anymore.
Sometimes when I fetch the water and I'm going to use it to bath, and then use that same water to wash my underpart, it's very scary. It's the chlorine. And then even there's kind of scent you hear from the water. Yes, it's very hard for you to use that water to touch your body. And I can't use sachet water to be bathing myself every day because the water, I can't use the water to wash my under. When I see the color of the water, I'm scared.
On the street of Accra, the headache of many is the water they consume and what cost it comes with. They believe the galamsey activities, coupled with other contaminants, have eroded their trust.
I don't take pipe water anymore. The reason why now we pollute the water with galamsey, so that water we can't take it again because we are afraid to drink it when we get another sickness. So that's why I'm taking off it. Oh, because normally that water is clean and hygienic, you can drink it. But now, no, when we open the tap, sometimes you study the water is changing the color. It has a different colors because they pollute the water, so we can't take that water.
Nana is deeply troubled by the growing reliance on sachet water, a trend that shouldn't exist in a country where the Ghana Water Company is meant to be one of the primary sources for safe drinking water. He watches in frustration as more and more people turn to bottled and sachet water for survival, a costly alternative to what should be a basic right. For Nana, the root of this issue is clear. Galamsey, until the illegal mining ravaging the nation's water bodies is brought to an end, the hope of restoring trust in tap water feels distant.
I'm not taking it again, so government should do something about it because how the galamsey is pouring our water is bad. It's bad, it's very, very bad. In the olden days, normally as the galamsey is not done it in Ghana, as it's not going on, as they pollute the water, we take it, we used to cook, bathing, everything. Now only bathing we take the water to do, only bathing. But normally if you want now, in the olden days, we use the water to drink, you can fetch it and put it in the fridge, then you drink it nicely. But now we cannot do it anymore.
The data from the Ghana Statistical Service contained in the 2021 Ghana Population and Housing Census indicated that 37.4% of households use sachet water as their main source of drinking water, followed by pipe-borne water, which was used by 31.7% of households, borehole or tube, which was used by 17.7% of households. The census data also found that in urban areas, the two main sources of drinking water was sachet water, which was used by 51.5% of households, and pipe-borne water, which was used by 33.6% of households, while in rural areas, borehole or tube well was used by 33.6% of households, and pipe-borne water was used by 28.8% of households. However, the report also found that the use of sachet water as the main source of drinking water was largely an urban phenomenon, which was 51.5%. It is the most used source of drinking water in Greater Accra region, representing 70.7%, and the least in Northeast region, 1.8%, Upper East 2.2%, and Upper West 2.6%. But is the sachet water and the bottled water you buy on the street safe?
Somebody can come up at the back of his or her house or in a bedroom, can come up with something and say, let me do this here, and then we are not able to find out. So for such things, we rely on whistleblowers and neighbors. When you see that a truck or even a small pickup is taking some water out, or just check, do you have the FDA/WTE, whatever number there? Just get to FDA and ask, because anybody could do something like that. So that's why I didn't give you 100%, because these things can come up. But as soon as we find out, we bring them to book.
Maria Abba Lovelace Johnson is Director of Inspection at the Food and Drugs Authority. The Food and Drugs Authority has the mandate to protect health and safety of the consuming public. The authority does so by ensuring that all foods are safe and efficacious for human consumption. But how have they regulated the growing space of sachet water production?
The industry person is just looking at, how do I get my money? How do I get my money? How do I pay my staff? That is that person's goal. But as you're doing that, we are also there to ensure who is protecting the consumer. You see, so, and we should all know that at any and every point in time, we are all consumers. Today I sit and I'm speaking as a regulator because I'm speaking now, but I'm a consumer. We are all consumers of all the products that we regulate. You are a consumer, you're a journalist, but you're a consumer.
In 2022, scientists at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology carried out a research on the quality of sachet water. 3 samples of 30 sachet drinking water brands were collected from various places, including houses, supermarkets, and street vendors across the Kumasi metropolis, into sterilized plastic containers. The samples were gathered and sent to the laboratory. The assessment criteria for water quality were based on the World Health Organization's and the Ghana Standards Authority's recommended standards for drinking water. The samples were also subjected to microbial analysis to detect the presence of E. coli and coliforms and to evaluate microbial quality. The findings indicated that most physiochemical properties of the samples met the World Health Organization standards for safe drinking water, except for the slightly acidic pH. The study found that microbial analysis revealed that 67% of the samples were contaminated with pathogenic microorganisms, including E. coli and coliforms, indicating poor microbial quality.
Those who have been regulated by the FDA. The quality is checked regularly, and where problems are identified, they are dealt with. The GSA has noticed that several manufacturers are using our certification mark without approval. Anybody using our mark without approval, we cannot, under any stretch of imagination, vouch for the quality of the products. So, yes, we've done well with the water situation in country, but there's a lot more to do.
The Ghana Standards Authority acknowledges that much remains to be done to safeguard the public from unsafe water. Professor Alexander Dodu has voiced his concerns noting that there are serious questions surrounding the purity and safety of sachet water, which many Ghanaians rely on daily. He stresses that the issue of unwholesome water is a growing challenge, one that requires urgent attention to protect public health and ensure that what people consume is truly safe.
We have met with the leadership of the FDA, with whom we meet regularly, and between Dr. Dakun, Delis Dakun, the GSA boss, and the National Association of Sachet and Mineral Water Producers, we have agreed, not just in principle, but we are rolling it out to ensure that we have a three-pronged approach: FDA registration, GSA certification, and the members must voluntarily belong to a group that is identified to help in regulation. Because there are districts where people are producing at their backyard and coming, and if they are small scale, they don't even come on the radar, but it poses a risk. Because if you are at a funeral in the village, whether you are Director General of GSA or not, you buy water and you would assume that this water has been tested and certified and approved for sale by the FDA. Of course, at the funeral, you're not going to take your phone and check whether it's on the website and so on and so forth. It's nice to do, but practically how many of us will do that? So to the extent that we do know that there are pockets of products circulating in commerce without the knowledge of state authorities, there's work to do. To the extent that the products even on the market could change in quality, requiring constant surveillance, we have work to do. And for us at the GSA, to the extent that people are using our logo without approval, there's work to do. But when you put all together, the GSA and the FDA has harmonized. We have harmonized, and I've said that, look, we are reducing the cost and the time. So maybe that harmonization should inure to the benefit of those who produce sachet and bottled water and should improve the quality existing. But I will always say that there is still more room for improvement.
People are fast losing faith in the very systems meant to keep them safe. Joseph Ofer is a business development manager at Norax Care, a company focused on water purification. As concerns deepen, so too does the demand for innovative ways to guarantee water safety at home.
I would say what we preach here at Norax Care is that if you need to be sure, you need to filter your own water at home. And so with Norax Care, we have filters like point-of-use water filters that you can use in your kitchen or in your shower. And if the water is not filtering, you can see for yourself. If it filters perfectly well, you can also see for yourself. And there are several other components in the water that can also help in the filtration of heavy metals as well. For instance, KDF 55 and activated carbon. And so it is very needful that when you need to be sure, you filter your own water at home.
Amid widespread distrust, one thing remains undeniable. Ghanaians are either drinking water from the Ghana Water Company or relying on sachet water. However, Stanley Mate, communications manager of the Ghana Water Company, insists that those choosing sachet water, despite having tap access, are doing so out of perception, not necessity. According to him, it's less about safety concerns and more about lifestyle shifts.
I think it's just about perception, and I think and it's also about standards of living. When people's standard of living improve, okay, then they resort to all manner of expensive adventure or venture. Okay, so for me, I think it is just a rise in the standard of living for people. So though that is what you think, but that trader, okay, in times past, okay, was drinking directly from the tap. Now she's selling somewhere and can make a living for herself. So now she can afford a sachet of water. Okay, there are people who can't afford a sachet of water. You know that. It's very difficult for some people. There are people who will not drink sachet water, but will drink bottled water. Okay, so it's the standard of living, and everybody has his or her own standards. So the trader has his or her standards, and maybe her standard could be sachet water. You are quite enlightened. You are an elite. You could be classified as an elite person. So you will see bottled water as your standard for drinking. So for me, it is just perception. No, it is not trust.
Mr. Marty says the Ghana Water Company goes through multiple layers to keep the water safe and makes a case for those who drink water from the Ghana Water Company.
For me, okay, and for most people that I know, I drink directly from the tap. If you come to my home, the water that I'll serve you is from the tap. But if you come to my office, I'll serve you with bottled or packaged water. Okay, it's nice for me to serve you that way because I can't go and fetch water from from a tap to serve you. So I'll serve you packaged water. It doesn't mean that I do not trust tap water. In my home, I have bottles in my fridge. I fill with tap water, and anytime I want to drink, anytime my children want to drink, we drink directly from the tap. But because I am involved in water treatment, and I know, and then from research that I am privy to, tap water is the best quality water when benchmarked with packaged water. The treatment of water is continuous, 24/7. So the water that flows through your tap is fresh. It means that water is less than 24 hours old. Okay. Now with packaged water, are you able to tell how old the packaged water is? Do you know where it was produced? Do you know the processes that it's gone through? And do you know how long it's been on the shelf before you procured it? Now, when heat, okay, impacts on the bottled water or on the sachet, okay, science has told us that it emits some substances into the water. Okay, so you can't compare that to tap water, which is treated fresh for you to drink.
Whether you rely on water from the Ghana Water Company, sachet or bottle sources, the underlying issue remains unchanged. Ghana's water bodies are under siege due to rampant galamsey activities. This ongoing environmental destruction has only deepened the suspicions of consumers, fueling concerns about the safety of the water they drink. The rivers, once lifelines for communities, are now tainted, and with them, the trust in the very systems meant to provide clean, reliable water is eroding. The rivers in the country are more than just bodies of water. They are the veins that sustain life, culture, and communities. As galamsey continues to poison these veins, it is not just the water that suffers, it is the entire nation. For how long can we watch as our rivers turn to mud? How long before the very essence of life is lost to greed? The time to act is now, before the silent waters of Ghana's rivers are silenced forever. My name is Richard Kwejo Nyako for Joy News' Hotline.